Wonderful, so wonderful is your unfailing love. Your cross has spoken mercy over me, over me. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart could fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one.
Alright, welcome back everyone. It's been a little while. I think for one reason or another we've had to forgo our Psalm study the last couple of Thursdays, but we are back today and continuing on where last week left off, if I'm not mistaken, Psalm 37. This is a rather lengthy one. I guess both because of the length and also because a lot of what we'll see here is fairly similar to what we've noted in other psalms, right? It's got some what I would consider fairly typical thoughts in it. We'll talk about it at a high level, note the outline, and then work our way through 40 verses long. So we won't dwell too much on any one piece, I don't think. But one thing to note about this psalm, a Psalm of David, of course, it's ascribed as such, as we've said, most of the psalms toward the beginning of the book are. The occasion is not certain, but there is one clue in this psalm that gives us a little bit of insight regarding the authorship, and it's in verse 25. Verse 25, he says, I have been young and now am old. I have been young and now am old. So that at least tells us that the psalmist, again, presumably David, no reason to doubt it that I can see, it's definitely written toward the end of his life. So all of the various situations in his life that we've talked about that tend to be associated with other psalms, his various run-ins with Saul, Absalom's rebellion, he's past all of these things at this point. I'm assuming he says, I've been young, now I'm old. So you have here someone who is reflecting back upon life, kind of like we were discussing with Solomon and Ecclesiastes. So again, the occasion isn't certain, but we do at least have that little tidbit concerning the point in life of the psalmist. The theme of the psalm is set forth in the very first verse. Fret not thyself because of the wicked, as the ASV puts it, evildoers in the King James. And really, I would say, if you want kind of the main point, the gist of this psalm, it really deals with the same problem as the book of Job. If you're doing a study of Job, Psalm 37, among others like it, might not be a bad companion to kind of set alongside it. This idea that, why does it seem that in this life the wicked prosper, bad things happen to good people all the time? What is going on there, right? That's really at the crux of this particular psalm. And the message of the psalm, again, the theme, fret not thyself because of evildoers of the wicked. In other words, don't worry about it, is the main message, right? Wicked people are in this world. Wicked people prosper oftentimes in this world. Wicked and bad things happen to good people in this world, but don't worry about it. Don't fret over such things. So here's a basic breakdown, and it's rather broad. But in the first two verses, you have the main subject. Right, so he starts out right off the bat in the first two verses out of 40, going straight to the heart of the matter and laying forth the point, the main message. Verses 3 through 8, he talks about the state of mind that ought to be cherished. Right, so if you're not going to fret about the wicked, what should you dwell upon? What should you value? And that is going to be calmness and confidence in God. And I guess just at a very high level, that makes me think of Philippians, right? You have Paul writing from prison, Philippians 4, talking about things like peace and joy, and he goes through this list of things to think upon, right? Think upon these things, things that are positive, things that are good. Very similar with this psalm here, right? Don't dwell on the bad, dwell on the good. And then the rest of the psalm, verses 9 through 40, so the final three quarters of the psalm, the psalmist gives reasons to have this state of mind. It's like, okay, so if you start out and you tell me, okay, psalmist, you say, don't worry about the wicked, instead have calmness and confidence in God, right? Dwell upon that instead. Well, why should I? He spends the rest of the psalm telling you why. And it kind of shakes out into two sections. Verses 9 through 15, he talks about the future doom of the wicked. Right? So don't worry too much about the wicked. They're going to get their just desserts in the end. And then the rest of it, 16 through 40, which is more than half the psalm, talks about the ultimate prosperity of the righteous. And again, as we said a moment ago, think of Job. Right, very very similar to the overall message and theme of the book of Job. So he starts out the first two verses with the main subject. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. And you know what? On the one hand, you may be inclined to think, well, of course not. Why would I be jealous of the wicked? But it happens all the time. Are we ever tempted to be envious of workers of iniquity? Maybe sometimes you look at the fact that they seem to win an awful lot sometimes in this world. Certainly, as I often say, you'll probably get sick of me saying it. Look at the culture around us, right? It seems like wicked people are coming out on top and winning every battle that there is to be had. They often tend to be prosperous. They tend to have material wealth. They do what they want in life. Sin is not a problem for them. It doesn't hold them back. And you say, well, I want to have the giant house. I want to have the material success and things. It can be tempting to be envious of those people, but don't do it. Why? Verse 2, they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Okay, it's a thought that's going to be developed a little further, verses 9 through 15. But they're not going to come out on top in the end. Maybe it feels like they are right now. Maybe you're going through your life trying to be righteous, trying to do the right thing. You tend to be ridiculed, you tend to lose. In some extreme circumstances, it may cost you your job, your career. Again, they may come out with the material wealth where you have to forgo it because you're not willing to do the types of things in some circumstances it takes to acquire it. But don't be jealous. In the end, righteous people come out on top and the wicked do not. Now, contrasting that, the next few verses, 3 through 8, if you're not going to envy the workers of iniquity, you're not going to sink to their level and fret about them and worry over what they have that you don't, and so on and so forth. What do you do instead? You can get rid of that, but what do you replace it with? Well, verses 3 through 8, he tells us, trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Right? So shalt thou dwell in the land. This is particularly for his fellow ancient Israelites. Right? This is an important thing. Certainly you think if you go forward from David's life a bit, ultimately you come to the exile, right? Assyria for the north, Babylon for the south. This idea that God gave them this land, initially promised to Abraham, and then some 4 centuries later, Jacob's descendants, Jacob's sons' descendants, ultimately are led by Moses out of Egypt, come back in, they take the land, they dwell in it. It's the promised land, right? This is the land that God gave them. But, you read particularly Deuteronomy. There are a lot of conditions attached to this, right? God makes a covenant with his people, and as so long as they adhere to it, then God tells them things will be well. But Deuteronomy, again in particular, you have this contrast between blessings and curses, right? If you do what you're supposed to, you be righteous, you be sanctified, you keep the covenant, you're going to be blessed. If you don't, you're going to be cursed. And the ultimate curse, again, foretold in Deuteronomy, it doesn't come to fruition until centuries later. They're going to be booted out of the land. In fact, he tells them, ultimately, if you don't live the way you want to live, if you don't keep the covenant that you're making with God there at Sinai, ultimately you're going to be spewed out of the land the same way that God is ejecting the native peoples from it: the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and so forth. And ultimately that comes to happen. So trust in the Lord, do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land. In other words, if you live the kind of life you ought to live, if you're a righteous person, you seek and do God's will, you'll be blessed. Verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Delight in the Lord makes me think of Psalm chapter 1, right? Meditate upon God's word. Live accordingly. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Same thought. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Again, things will go well for you. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not. Now here we go, circling back to where we started. And again, coming back to the main thought of Job. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. While you're living a righteous life, doing what you're supposed to do, again, foregoing, because of that, some of the things that this world has to offer that may seem tempting at times, right? You think of 1 John, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Those things are tempting. That's what makes them tempting. The fact that you want the money, the success, all of these things that people will sell their souls to get. Other people are out there getting them. Don't worry about that. Don't fret. Don't fret over the wicked man who's doing well, who's prospering, who's doing wicked things to get it. But rather, verse 8: cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Right? Let it go. Don't worry about the wicked people around you. And that's easier said than done sometimes, I'll admit. Especially if you are on the receiving end of that wickedness. It's one thing to turn the other cheek, as the Lord puts it in the Sermon on the Mount, just generally speaking. There are wicked people all around you. Fine. I'm not going to worry about them. I'm not going to fret over them. I'm certainly not going to let them drive me to do something I shouldn't do. But when you are personally on the receiving end of it, right? Maybe they're cheating you. Maybe the way they're prospering materially is by cheating you out of something. Or these wicked devices are impacting you in a very real, literal sense. Don't fret over it, and certainly don't let them drive you to evil. And I can't help but think about a bit of Romans 12, right? Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Let God worry about repaying those wicked deeds. All right, verses 9 through 15. The wicked are going to get what's coming to them, right? Part of the reason you don't need to worry about it. For evildoers shall be cut off. They that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. Right? They're not going to go on forever. They're not going to prosper forever. Feels at times like they may, but they won't. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The meek, right, as we discussed when we were a short while back talking through the Beatitudes, blessed are the meek. It does not mean Meek does not mean weak, right? Meek does not mean that you are a spineless doormat, that you're incapable of defending yourself. And a lot of times when people use the word, that's what they mean, but that's not what it means. The meek are those who have tremendous strength, but they're able to bridle it. They're able to keep it in control. Again, here the wicked person who's wronging you and in doing so is prospering. You might want to take their head off, and a few would probably blame you for thinking it, but you don't. Right? Again, you keep yourself in check. You opt to do the right thing. That's meekness. It is not being weak. On the contrary, it's having strength, but keeping it under control. The meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked man may not see that his day is coming, but God does, and so it's a source of humor for God. It won't go on forever, right? God has the eternal perspective. The wicked man is a bit more short-sighted. The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Again, that's the way that it is in this world. The poor, the needy, the righteous, those who choose to do the right thing, are often and always have been, right? This was written in David's day, so somewhere in the vicinity of 1000 BC. It's 2023 AD. 3,000 years. It has always been this way. And I always will be until this world is eventually brought to an end. Right? People who are good, people who are needy, people who are less fortunate, get taken advantage of by the wicked. You say, well, that isn't right. What is God's perspective on this? Well, we're seeing it here. This is God's perspective on it. Their swords shall enter into their own hearts, and their bows shall be broken. Right? It isn't going to last. And it's worth noting, too, the many, many verses we note time and again about trials and temptations in this life and overcoming them. Being righteous despite the challenges. Being proven like a gold in a fire. Sword shall enter into their own heart, their bow shall be broken. No, the rest of the Psalm, 16 all the way through the end, is the flip side of it. So we're shifting from the wicked to the righteous, to the prosperity of the righteous. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. Why is that? Because the righteous man has riches that are eternal in nature. Think about Matthew 19, right? Set aside treasure in heaven that is it's uncorruptible, right? Thieves don't break in and steal. Moths aren't going to come in and eat it. It doesn't rust. It doesn't deteriorate. It can't be stolen. This is why the little that the righteous man has is better than the riches of many wicked, because the righteous man's riches are incorruptible and eternal. The wicked man's riches, he can't take it with him when he leaves this world. That's one thing, and even while he's in this world, again, it could get stolen. It could be it could he's got all his cash hidden in a box under his bed at the house, and the house burns up. There goes the cash with it. The bank fails. The stock market crashes. Any number of things. The eternal riches are far more valuable. A thought here again to tie into Matthew as well. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken. The Lord upholdeth the righteous. Now the Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. It's the very same thought. Draw a line straight back to the first part of verse 16. The inheritance lasts forever. It isn't temporary. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. Right, when this wrath of God is visited upon those who are deserving amongst His creation, the righteous aren't going to have cause for concern. When the trump sounds and the Lord returns, is it going to be a time of joy or a time of terror? Two different reactions to the same event. The righteous aren't going to have a problem. But the wicked shall perish. The enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, and to smoke shall they consume away. Right? In other words, they're going to be burned up. It's another way to put that. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. Again, just another reason why sometimes in this life the wicked prosper while the righteous don't. Oftentimes, and I realize this isn't always true, right? We're not making a blanket statement against rich people. Again, the love of money, not money itself, that's the problem. But oftentimes, look at Hollywood as a good example of this, or politicians. Oftentimes, what it takes to get the material gain is in and of itself wicked. Right there, a lot of, and again, not always true, but oftentimes it is the case that people who have a lot of that material wealth have done things they ought not to have done in order to attain it. And the righteous isn't willing to do that. The righteous isn't willing to fudge the numbers, to sell something that he knows is wicked or that's going to be harmful to other people. He isn't going to cheat any other people. He isn't going to try to take shortcuts on his tax return. Right? He's going to do the right thing. So the wicked man's going to borrow and then try to get out of paying it back. Right? He's going to try to read the fine print and find some way to keep it, to cheat the other person. The righteous man, on the other hand, is not only going to do the right thing with the loan officer or the bank, but he's going to give too. He's going to donate money to others in need. And so he's not going to have as much, perhaps, as the wicked man. But that's okay. For such as the blessed of him shall inherit the earth. They that, and again, you can put that alongside the Beatitudes. All of these thoughts that we're having, it's very, very similar language, right? Such as he, blessed of him, shall inherit the earth, and they that should be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Again, Psalm 1, the very first psalm. It's a short psalm, but same thought, right? Have your steps ordered by the Lord. How do you do that? Meditating upon His Word, putting it, sealing it away in your heart, and living according to it. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with His hand. He does fall, right? I mean, the righteous man, and I guess you could take this in two ways. On the one hand, he's going to fall down in the sense that we've already seen in this psalm. Because the wicked man is laying snares for him and devising wicked things against him all the time, right? So he's falling in the sense that, time and again he falls victim to the wickedness around him in one way or another. But he can also fall in the sense that he himself isn't perfect, right? And I think that's what he means here. I think it's the second, that the righteous man is not perfect. He's going to make mistakes too. In the same way the wicked man does. He isn't faultless. The righteous man is going to slip up. He is going to sin. But though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. Right? The Lord's going to forgive him. The Lord upholdeth him with His hand. 1 John chapter 1, 6 and following. Very same thought. The Lord is going to look out for those who are seeking to do His will. He knows we're not perfect. He understands that, and thank goodness for it. Verse 25, and we noted this at the outset. You have a little bit of a clue here. He says, I've been young, now I'm old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Again, the idea of the Lord takes care of those who are faithful to Him. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and His seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not His saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. And when it says loveth judgment, I don't think he means loves executing judgment. I think rather when it says he loves judgment, he loves to see justice. He loves to see for the right thing to happen in the end, which is what? For the saints, those who are faithful, to be preserved, the wicked to be cut off. Right? That is what is good. That is what is correct. That is what is proper. So he loveth judgment. He loves righteous judgment. He loves correct judgment. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of the Lord is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. Coming back to what we've seen before, again, kind of going back to one potential reading of verse 24. Why is it that the righteous man falls down? The wicked man is tripping him up at every chance he gets. Every opportunity he has, he's looking for a way to to take advantage of the righteous man, even to slay him, in verse 32. Whatever gain he can find. And you know what? Sometimes it may be simply because he's righteous. It may not be trying to take advantage of him. So it may just be he hates him because he's righteous. Or you think about the Lord in John 15 telling his apostles, right? The world hates me, and so they're going to hate you too, right? For no reason other than you follow after me. They hate me, they're going to hate you. That's John chapter 3, right? John 3:16. Keep reading the next verses following, right? There are people in the world who love darkness. That's where they want to be. They want to be wicked, and they want to stay in that situation. And because of that, they hate the righteous. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. Again, a similar thought to what we've seen several times already, but you have that little bit there again about inheriting the land. Think about the meaning of that for someone in David's time, right? The promised land. I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. I see it too, right? I've seen it. I see it right now. If I turn on any given day, if I turn on any news source, Yahoo, Fox, CNN, it doesn't matter. I see wicked people in great power spreading themselves like green bay trees. Absolutely everywhere, at every turn, in every field of human endeavor. Yet, verse 36, he passed away, and lo, he was not. I sought him, but he could not be found. And that's how it will be. Again, coming back to the very beginning of the psalm, fret not thyself because of evildoers. It is easy today. And I can say this because I feel this way. I assume some of you listening do too. It is disheartening to look at the world around us and see how very far off the rails things are going in the world around us in ways that even just 5 or 10 years ago I could not have imagined or foreseen. I mean, some of the things going on in the world today are truly just plain insane, divorced from even the most basic of realities. But don't fret over it. Fret not thyself because of evildoers. I've seen the wicked in great power, spreading himself like a great bay tree, yet he passed away. And again, this was written 3,000 years ago. It's still the same today, and they're still going to come to the exact same end that the evildoers of David's day were. I sought him, he could not be found. Let that be a comfort in those moments when you feel like fretting over the wickedness. Mark the perfect man and behold the upright. Yet again, the same thought, repeating again, that we've seen in the psalm. Don't worry about that. Instead, dwell upon this. Don't worry about the evil people. Pay attention to the good ones. I think it was Mr. Rogers. Going way back. Mr. Rogers, who in one of his programs was talking about the terrible events, natural disasters, mass shootings, terrorist attacks, in which you have a lot of suffering, a lot of death. And he said, and this has stuck with me over the years, and it fits right alongside this verse 37 here. He said, it's easy and it's tempting to be overwhelmed by the suffering, the pain, the death, to see so many people so horribly impacted. And he said, but in those situations, look for the helpers. Look for the EMTs. Look for the firefighters. Look for the doctors and the nurses and the people who were willing to help total strangers, to give CPR, to help get them to the hospital, to help comfort their families. It's easy to focus on the bad, but there's always good there too. In those terrible situations, look for the helpers, look for the good people, for the righteous people, because they're always in the picture. And that's like this. Mark the perfect man, behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Forget about the wicked man in great power. Instead, you mark the perfect man. Look at him, not the wicked. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. Couldn't put it more bluntly than that. That's the end of this. The end of the wicked. It's not going to last. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble. The Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. So the ultimate message for you and I as we close out this psalm, don't worry about the wickedness. Instead, put your trust in the Lord, and when all is said and done, in the final analysis, the grand scheme of things, the righteous always come out on top. All right, so that is Psalm 37. Lord willing, I will see you all again next week, and we'll continue making our way through with Psalm 38. Thank you for your attention today.
Over all the earth, you reign on high, every mountain stream, every sunset sky. But my one request, Lord, my only aim, is that you'd reign in me again. Lord, reign in me, reign in your power, over all my dreams, in my darkest hour. You are the Lord of all I am, so won't you reign in me again? Over every thought, over every word, may my life reflect the beauty of my Lord, 'cause you mean more to me than any earthly thing. So won't you reign in